All right, so the large farva, the A to Z variation that is the more substantial and meatier of the other A to Z variations. I think we're going to call it the DLP. It's got, you know, you can get away with doing 2 SF fibers in there color-wise, but I would really do 3 and make it look nice. We're going to work in the same 3-inch craft fur brush as we used for the DL3, but we're going to replace the Minnow head brush head with a 3-inch Foxy brush, which gets a little gnarly, I'm not going to lie to you, but the end result is really sweet. So, tied on a bigger hook, you can probably string this guy up on something up to a 4.0, 5.0. You might be able to get away with doing a 6.0. Just all you got to do is keep winding the brush and then keep trimming, and you can adapt it to whatever size you need. So let's do it. All right, so we did small and medium. Now we're going to do the large. This is the A to Z Minnow on steroids. Like, we got them on, you know, the HGH here, but now this is like full-blown steroids that we're going on to now. I think that this pattern is going to, like, this is a laid-up tarpon pattern. This is a pattern that I would like to see show up in the mouths of some golden dorado. And yeah, so let's do it. We're gonna change the hook up. I'm gonna tie this on the Tiemco 600 SP because yeah, this is gonna be a bigger fly for bigger fish. So we're gonna splurge and go with the most expensive hook on the planet. Man, this hook even feels expensive. All right, get this puppy on there. All right, materials. Let's take a little step back here. Materials. Same as the A to Z, sort of. We're gonna do, or the DL3, sort of. We're gonna add a couple of colors of SF fibers. We're gonna keep the craft fur brush. We're gonna add a EP 3-inch Foxy brush, and stick with the Game Change eyes. Zap gel. We're gonna do a little layering here, and then a little spinning later. Build up a little bit bigger of a profile. We're gonna do a little bit of a fire tiger color scheme on this guy. We'll start at the very front of the hook, near the eye, and wrap back. On this hook, you're going to be able to let it hang, and the thread should hang right by the barb. So, all right, I got a pack of SF Mullet Brown already open. We'll start with that guy, and we're not actually going to cut this in half this time. We're going to just let it be. Keep it long. You can make this as long as of a fly as you really want it to be. I'm going to keep it long. When I'm done with this thing, I'm going to hope that it's somewhere in the ballpark of 8-9 inches. All right, so flip this guy over. I'm going to tie on a probably about a 6-inch section going right down the back of the hook. Twist this guy up, cut that off, strap that on there, flip the hook over. Do the same thing on this side. We're going to trim it up just a little bit. Get you a pretty substantial chunk here. This one we'll cut in half and split over. You don't really have to worry about tapering it too much right now. We're going to taper it later with the scissors. I'll show you some tricks on how to do it, but just a little preliminary tapering, make life easier down the road, just not getting too carried away. And then we're just going to split it down the hook shank. Tie that on there right below the top portion and wind that down. Lift and trim. All right, now, oof, that's looking all right. All right, so now let's add a little color. I'm gonna do orange and then olive. And I'm going to take a little bit bigger of a chunk this time, because this is going to show up a little bit more, because this is going to get trimmed off a little bit. So maybe, I don't know, about that much. A decent little amount, maybe a 1/16 of an inch when it's compressed, if that makes sense. Get that guy tapered over just like that. And we will lay this on there about the same length as that top section. Again, you can leave it long, we're going to trim it later. A couple of securing wraps. Feels kind of weird to tie a big fly, I'm not going to lie to you. All right, take that, trim that off. And if you wanted to tie this shorter, you can just double these up and stretch them out the back, and you'd save on some fibers, but make sure this is good to go. Yep, get all the long stupid ones out of there. And lay this right on top. Yep, perfect. All right. And now just strap this puppy down right on top. Flip it over, make sure our 7-layer bean dip is in good shape there. It is. And trim that off. And now just tighten all of this down. You can UV zap it from here if you'd like. I'm not. I'm just going to skip that step. And take your brush and blend it all together. See how that all just kind of just came together all nice like right there? Whew. All right. I'm going to bar this. I'm going to take my brown. Let's finish the Fire Tiger scheme here. And let's put a few bars in this puppy. Put the collar on this, and we're going to use a 3-inch craft fur brush. I got olive and orange. We're going to use a decent amount of this stuff. Still, though, probably about the same amount that we did for the A to Z and the DL3. About half a brush. It's a little bit more of a meatier fly, so again, we'll trim it all up later. Strap this down on top of the on top of the thread from the SF fibers. Hackle pliers make your life easy. Start spinning. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, I know this is looking like a paintbrush at the moment. It's a little big and bushy, but I promise you when we're done with this, this is going to be the biggest, sexiest looking fly you've seen in a while. This is going to be like the Frank Thomas of flies, or the Patrick Ray of flies. Yeah, there's a chuckle. We got him to come out of character just for a second. All right. Oh shit, that'll make the edit. All right. So that kind of blends all that together very nicely, just like that. Game change eyes. Let's do same size as the DL3. We can make this bigger if we wanted to. When we get done, you can kind of see how the profile of the head really kind of depends on which size game change eyes we're using, but for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to use these 5mm guys. A little bit of Zap Gel. Ooh, things are about to get real. You kind of feel. And just make sure you're pulling this thing back, because we want to get these eyes as far to the rear of the hook as we can. Because if we have too much brush in front of the, or if we don't have enough brush in front of the eyes, the whole fly starts to look a little disproportionate and a little silly. So a few more little securing wraps over them. This will help keep the fly, or keep these eyes from snapping. Part of the knock on these things is they snap after a while, and they will, they're plastic. But if you put enough thread on them and you zap gel them, they're gonna last a long time. Last step, we're going to use 3-inch Summerlot's Foxy brush for the head. And this is where it's about to get fun, because this stuff gets a little unruly when you use it for the head. All right, I got olive and, I think they call this olive and chartreuse, but let's not lie to ourselves. This is green and yellow. Good Fire Tiger color. Secure this behind the eyes, and then bring your thread in front of the eyes to the eye of the hook. And now we're going to do the same thing as we did before with the Minnow brush, only we're going to do it with 3-inch Foxy brush. It's about to get real. And this, we are going to put as many wraps on here as we can, because we're going to take a lot of it off. So I'm going to get 4 behind the eyes on this one. I'll still get 3 across the side here, or across the eyes. 2, 3, and now I'm betting we can get 3 or 4 in the center. So even though it's a bigger hook and bigger brush, you're still going to get the same amount of wraps on there. You can put a weed guard on this one if you want. You can put a weed guard on any of them if you like, but I'm not really about the fish deflector life, to be honest with you. I'm going to give it one more little mini wrap just so I get a little bit of the green fibers showing up on the nose. All right, so now separate your hair, spin this over, wrap this over. Is that the real Burger King coming in here? Trim that off with your flush cutters. That's the real Burger King. Now at this point, we can whip finish. We're done. It's all trimming from here on out. We're not putting a weed guard on this thing. Done and done. So now we got all these fibers teased out. This is looking like a complete mess, but it's okay. Let's take a visor or a razor. Take a visor. And we are just going to start taking the sides off of this thing. Same with this side. Don't get too carried away. Don't get too carried away. We'll just work around this thing 360 like.
Thank you.
Yep, have a good day, Tom. Thanks for putting those up.
You bet.
Work the bottom. Bend your razor over and just trim. We're just going to get the bulk because we're going to get the rest with the scissors. Put this thing over and we'll just take a little bit off the head. This stuff gets a little gnarly. You can see like but you can kind of see it coming together here. Like it's going to look good. All right, I think we're about at the point where we can start using our scissors. Yeah, it's way too big for me. Like, what the hell am I going to catch with this thing? Give it to Pat. At least it might see a big fish's face. All right, so we'll trim this thing up. And this is kind of where the labor intensiveness comes in here. Is just on the finishing. Don't be afraid to get in there. So we can continue to sit here and do this for hours upon hours, and honestly, nothing really sounds like more fun than that. There are a few activities in this world that are more relaxing than trimming flies. All right, so now this is all done here. Comb this out the back, and now we got this unruly mess out the back. So let's take this thing and let's trim this up. We're going to flip it upside down. We're just going to get at it with our scissors, like such. Really kind of thinning this thing out. So still not very close, but we're getting there. Do not be afraid to cut this damn thing. You've just got to roll with it. All right, profile achieved. Big, meaty bait fish. Let's take some zaps to it. A little loon thin. Spin that around. And that should be good to go. All right, there she is. I think we're going to call it the DLP. It's like the DL3, but for big poons. I know, how original, right? That thing's a chunk. I think that'll do it.